Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars.
Assalamualaikum Doktor, I'm Nuraini Piti Daud from the Group Human Development and Income Inequality from in Indonesia. Today I would like to present chapter 3, which is about research methodology. For introduction, research methodology is a chapter provides an overview of the methods used in the study. It includes the section of the population interview sampling techniques and population framing. The chapter explains the data collection and tools and specific investigation methods used. Quantitative data analysis techniques are also discussed to gain insight from the gathered information. Ethical issues related to the research process are addressed, emphasizing the study's integrity and respect for participants' rights and privacy. Okay, next we go for the sampling. This study investigate the relationship between education, health, political stability, and employment wages as independent variables, and income inequality in Indonesia as the dependent variable over a span of 35 years from 1988 to 2020. The objective is to examine how changes the factor independent may have influenced income inequality pattern throughout this period. Then for the data collection, we collected data from three reputable sources such as World Bank, Bank Negara, and Fred Economic Data. A structured data collection strategy is vital for ensuring accurate and precise information in the study, supporting future decision making and progress assessment. Okay, now we go to point for variable. The variable being measured or evaluated in an experiment is referred to as the dependent variable. In the psychological experiment, researchers investigate the effect of changes in the independent variable on the dependent variable. By adjusting independent factors and observing the influence on the dependent variables, researchers can draw conclusion about the cause and effect, the relationship between various elements. The income inequality reduction in Indonesia was experimentally investigated as a dependent variable by using a specific variable. For dependent, research objects attribute is a variable that can be changed. The outcome of any research project is heavily dependent on the choices made regarding which variable to measure. Dependent variables, for independent variables, intervening variables, moderator variables, control variables, and superfluous variables are the 6 kinds of variables that are frequently used. However, the only variable that will be used in this research are going to be dependent and independent variables. Okay, now we look at the independent variable. This study's independent variable is human development, which includes several elements affecting people well-being and ability. The researcher explore how human development affect the equality of income in Indonesia. Human development, including education, health, political stability, and wages, may affect income inequality. The study examined how human development affect income disparity in Indonesia by examining these variables. In such cases, researchers may explore other independent variables that could have a more substantial impact on the research outcome to achieve more accurate results. Okay, next is research design. Research design is a crucial tool that ensure researchers can effectively address their research question in a logical and clear manner. It serves as a guide for determining the most appropriate methods and techniques to obtain the desired data. The research design is implemented as a specific approach or framework with the resulting outcomes being evaluated and analyzed. Furthermore, this chapter also discusses the research objective, the types of examination to be conducted, and the time horizon within which the study will be conducted. Okay, now we change to the next slide, which is the research methodology. In a research methodology, we have descriptive analysis. It used to summarize a data set which can represent either the entire population or a sample of it. Descriptive analysis involves two types of measure, which is central tendency and variability. Measure of a central tendency include the mean, median, and mode, which provide a sense of the typical or average value in the dataset. Measures of variability such as a standard deviation, variance, minimum and maximum values, kurtosis and skewness help understand the spread or distribution of the data. These descriptive analysis techniques are commonly used to provide a concise and straightforward summary of the data sets and characteristics or methodologies. Okay, next is a correlation analysis. Correlation measure the strength of a linear relationship between two variables using statistical data. The correlation coefficient range from negative 1, completely negative correlation, to positive 1, representing a fully positive correlation. A correlation coefficient of 0.8 or higher is considered significant, indicating a strong complete association between the variables. Conversely, a correlation of 0 suggests no linear relationship between the two variables being studied. The premise of the hypothesis test in this situation is the null hypothesis, which HO assume a correlation coefficient of 0, which is P equal to 0. While the alternative hypothesis H1 state the correlation coefficient is not equal to 0, which is P not equal to 0. Okay, in this slide, we have a regression analysis. Regression analysis is a set of statistical methods used to examine a relationship between one or more independent variable and a dependent variable. The main goal is to understand the strength of the relationship between these variables and predict how they might behave in the future. There are different types of regression analysis, including linear, multiple linear, and non-linear regression. Simple linear and multiple linear models are commonly used when the relationship between variables are relatively straightforward. On the other hand, non-linear regression is suitable for more complex data sets with non-linear relationship between the dependent and independent variables. By employing regression analysis, researchers can gain valuable insight into how different variables influence one another and make informed prediction for future outcomes. Okay, next is a multiple linear regression. Multiple regression are also known as multiple linear regression, which is MLR. It's a statistical method that aims to predict the outcome of a response variable by considering multiple explanatory factors. The goal is to represent the linear relationship between this explanatory, which is variable, and dependent variable. It boosts upon ordinary least square regression by incorporating more than one explanatory variable. The model is expressed as follows, which is y equal to beta, where y represents income inequality or the Gini index. B0 is the intercept of constant term, and S1, S2, S3, and S4 are the exponential variable of education, health, political stability, and employment wages respectively. The term E denotes the term accounting for the variability that the model does not explain. By using multiple regression, researchers can analyze the combined effect of the various factors and make more robust prediction about the response variable. For F-test, it is a statistical test that utilizes the F distribution under the null hypothesis. It is commonly used to compare statistical model to the data collected and determine if the model fits the population from which the data were obtained. Exact F-tests are frequently employed for fitting least square models to the data. Researchers use this test to compare different fitted statistical model to the dataset and identify the most suitable model for the population. In this study, the null hypothesis shows that the coefficient which are B1, B2, B3, B4 and B5 representing the relationship between income inequality, education, health, political stability and employment wages are all equal to 0. This implies that there is no significant relationship between this variable and income inequality. On the other hand, the alternative H1 posits that at least one of these coefficients is not equal to 0, indicating that there is a significant relationship between at least one of the independent variables and income inequality. By using the F-test, researchers can assess the significance of this relationship and determine why variable play a crucial role in influencing income inequality in population under study. The test help in selecting the most appropriate model, the best explain the observed data and its association with income inequality. Okay, next is a t-test. T-test is a statistical method to compare the mean of two groups that are similar in some aspect to determine a significant difference between them. T-test are utilized as inferior statistic to evaluate whether there is a meaningful relationship between income inequality and the variable of education, health, political stability, employment ratio, and wages and salary. The hypothesis testing involve evaluating the population based on assumption that the coefficient B1 for reducing income inequality is equal to 0. The alternative hypothesis, which is H1, propose that the coefficient is not equal to 0. By conducting the t-test and computing the regression value of the standard deviation, researcher can assess if there is a positive or negative correlation between income inequality and the independent variable. This allows them to draw conclusion about the significance of each variable impact on income inequality in the studied population. Okay, lastly, we have a coefficient of determination. The coefficient of determination is a statistical measure that assess how well changes in one variable can be explained by changes in another when predicting a specific outcome. In essence, this coefficient indicates the strength of the linear relationship between two variables during trend analysis. It provides insight into the extent to which variation in one variable are dependent on changes in the other. A high coefficient of determination suggests a strong correlation between the variables, indicating that one variable can be a good predictor of the other, while a low coefficient implies a weaker relationship. By using the coefficient of determination, we can better understand the predictive power of the one variable based on the changes in another. It's providing valuable information for making informed decisions and drawing meaningful conclusions from their data. In conclusion, this chapter provides a comprehensive overview of the sample and data collection process, aligning it with the study's design. The data was sourced from reliable platforms, including the World Bank, Fed Econometric, Bank Negara Malaysia, and Department of Statistics Malaysia (DOSM) official portals. The gathered information was then examined in e-views to understand how the dependent and independent variables interacted. Furthermore, the chapter delved into the fundamental mechanism of the research and established the theoretical framework for the analysis. It outlined the research hypothesis and the study methodology, which involved the use of regression analysis. Overall, Chapter 3 served a crucial foundation for the subsequent stages of the study, enabling researchers to draw meaningful insight and make informed interpretation based on the data collected. Okay, now let's move to chapter 4, which is the research analysis. In this chapter, we'll comprehensively describe and employ various research analysis methods, including descriptive analysis, correlation analysis, regression analysis, and coefficient determination. The primary objective to identify and understand the relationship between the dependent and independent variables. The data used for this study was collected from Indonesia, one selected ASEAN country, spanning a time of 35 years from 1988 to 2022. By utilizing these analytical techniques on the acquired data, we aim to gain valuable insight into dynamics and connection between the variables, contributing to a deeper understanding of the impact of factors such as education, health, political stability, and employment wages on income inequality in Indonesia over the specific time frame. Alright, now in this slide, we have table 4.1, which is the result of the descriptive analysis that we have captured. Table 4.1 present the descriptive analysis result for various variables in the study covering a 35 years period in Indonesia. The variables include the Gini, a measure of income inequality, secondary school enrollment rate, SSS, primary school enrollment rate, SSP, birth rate, BR, mortality rate, MR, political stability, PS, wages and salary level, WS, and employment ratio, which is EP. Okay, from the result, the mean values provide insight into the average level of each variable over the specified time frame. For example, the average Gini index is 35.6, indicating the mean income inequality in Indonesia during the study period. The standard deviation measure the degree of variation or dispersion around the mean. For instance, the Gini index standard deviation is 3.1918, representing the extent of variability in income inequality across the years. Moreover, the minimum and maximum values display the range of each variable, showing the lowest and highest observed value. For instance, the minimum Gini index is 29.5 and the maximum is 40.8, indicating the minimum and maximum level of income inequality recorded during the study. Next, by calculating the mean for other variables such as secondary and primary school, enrollment rates 66.3, 107.4, birth rate 21.1, mortality rate 47.2, political stability, employment rate, we can get insight into the central tendencies of this variable during the study period. This mean value as a reference point, giving us a general sense of the typical or average magnitude of each variable over the long-term time frame, aiding in the interpretation and comparison of a different variable behavior throughout the years. Okay, next indeed, the standard deviation is a crucial measure that help us assess the extent of variability or spread of the data point around the mean for each variable. By calculating the standard deviation for income inequality 3.19, secondary and primary school enrollment rate 16.6 and 6.5, birth rate 2.8, mortality rate 20.9, political stability 9.8, wages and salary 6.3, employment rate 1.4. We gain a deeper understanding of how much the value deviate from the average over the specified 35 years time frame. A larger standard deviation indicates greater dispersion and variability, implying that the data points are more spread out from the mean. Conversely, a smaller standard deviation suggests less variability, indicating that the data points are closer to the mean. The standard deviation is an essential tool in gauging the range and consistency of each variable values, contributing to a more comprehensive interpretation of the data characteristics and trend over time. Okay, the minimum and maximum values provide us with valuable insight into the range of each variable, indicating the lowest and highest observed value throughout the 35 years study period in Indonesia by examining the minimum and maximum value respectively for income inequality for the school secondary, school primary, birth rate, the mortality rate, for the political stability and employment ratio, wages and salary, we can identify the extreme points of each variable's distribution over time. This information help us understand the boundaries within which the data fluctuated and highlight the variability in the data set. By knowing the minimum and maximum level for each variable, we can pinpoint the most and less insignificant value, allowing for a more comprehensive analysis of the overall trend potential outlier present in the data. Okay, in conclusion, this result provide valuable insight into the data distribution and characteristic, giving researchers initial understanding how the behavior of 35 years period in Indonesia. The descriptive analysis set the foundation for further analysis and allow researchers to identify trend and pattern in the data related to income inequality and its relationship to education, health, political stability and employment wages. Okay, that's all from 11 side for me, madam. Thank you.